What is going on, everybody? It's Mock Draft Monday. Jake Schrager here, and I have a special guest for Round 1 Mock Draft. He's done a lot of these over his time on YouTube, does a lot of stuff with Madden, the Rebuilding series, of course, one of the best out there. Bengal, how you doing on this
Doing
fine
well,
Monday?
man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to go through. As I mentioned to you before, we haven't gone through too many of these on YouTube, so I'm excited to kind of also go back and forth and just kind of bounce off each other, see what the kind of some of the predictions and maybe our own evaluations look like. I got two quick questions for you before we get started. First, how do you feel about the Giants right now? And two, does it feel nice doing Round 1 mock drafts without Packers fans screaming about who they wouldn't pick or would pick?
That is a nice change. I would say regarding the Giants, post free agency, I don't feel too bad. I feel like the team did get better and they spent, a lot of money. So they better have gotten better. But at number 5, I don't know that there's a clear picture of who it's going to be, right? Because short-term answers at a lot of different positions. They're very highly unlikely to take a guard at 5, but that's kind of a big pain point right now. So you're looking, linebacker, corner, safety, even potentially at 5. There's not an interior defensive lineman worth taking. Receivers in play, maybe even running back in play.
Wow,
a lot of stuff could be happening here for the Giants. So it'll be an interesting one to follow.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with what they're going to do at 5 because, as you said, this draft is strange because we're going to have guys who are not really coveted premium positions going high, but if they're good enough, I mean, teams are probably going to be pouncing. So, all right, let's roll this. There we go. We went on this. We decided beforehand that I'll take the odds, giving myself that lovely 15th pick for Tampa Bay. Bengals going to take the evens, and we will talk about, if your team does not have a first-round pick, some options for them after that. But I'm going to keep this pretty simple. I mean, Fernando Mendoza at 1 to the Raiders, that's locked and loaded, right? Bengal, where do you see him relative to maybe like Cam Ward and a couple maybe guys from maybe 2024?
That's been a common question. I think many have just pointed to Ward by default because he can make some more special plays, but I don't really think he's too much a cut above Mendoza, who I think has been able to do that a little bit as well. I think the only real difference is just how heavy RPO based that Indiana offense was. So it's every snap is out of the gun and there's maybe less opportunity to, improvise off play action. There's no rollouts. It's just you're getting the ball, you're getting rid of it. But I think Mendoza's shown, pretty good ability to run for his size. And he is a bigger quarterback, 6'5", 230 something at the combine. And I think people think of him as a slight and light built, kind of lanky quarterback, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the case. And I think he's got a plus arm. I don't know if it's super above average, but plus arm overall. And I don't think he's that far below Cam Ward if he is even at all.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of people answer that differently about, as you said, do you like the playmaker out of structure more so? But man, the poise is unbelievable. Some of the hits he took in the Iowa game, right? That first Ohio State hit that he took was, I thought the game was over. So yeah, I am really impressed, and he does a lot of the precise stuff outside the numbers that I feel like, it is kind of a shame that it's going to be kind of a by default kind of view of him. But you got the Jets at 2. They made a lot of interesting kind of mid-tier level moves last week. So I'm interested to see where you'll go.
Yeah, a lot of depth, some real veterans in the mix as well. I mean, how many 30-plus-year-olds do they bring in? Which I don't mind that on a short-term, level. I think that, Demario Davis hopefully raises the floor of the entire defense. And I think if Aaron Glenn is fighting for his job, he needs some players that can help fight for him. And I think Davis returning the Jets is kind of a fun one. I would go Arvell Reese here. I think I'm surprised this isn't generally the consensus that I'm seeing. It seems like people are split. I don't think David Bailey is worth the number 2 overall pick. Again, it's like a little bit of a weird year, but I think with the upside that Reese brings you, I also like him off the ball. I recognize that you're not going to take him at 2 if that's going to be his ultimate role. You're going to play him off the edge. I don't think the Jets really did anything long term to say that they wouldn't look to bring in another edge rusher. They paid Joseph Osai, but I think he's going to be still more of a rotational player. Enigbara is a 1-year deal, obviously, from the Packers. And he's a good player in a rotational role, but you're not going to play him as a 3-down guy. And I was kind of surprised to see him get $10 million per year, even if it is only with 1 year. But Reese gives you some versatility. I think that's going to be valuable to Aaron Glenn. And if you can develop him as an edge rusher, obviously the value would be exponentially higher at that position.
Yeah, it sounds like he said he wants to play edge, but I agree. I would play him off the ball. I think that the instincts, and I've heard a lot of guys talk about it. I know guys at the read optional, Ledyard and Ollie Connolly have talked about, like, man, just the level that he can get to because of how he sees things, you know, to the flat, between the tackles, like all that. As long as he gets better in coverage, I feel like, and it's more not even an athleticism thing. It's more of a just comfort thing in coverage. But yeah, I feel like he just seems better suited there. And I agree. I don't think Bailey's worth the pick. I think that's where I'm going to go here for Arizona, though. They're in a strange spot, too, where you could go, oh, yeah, they sell jerseys with Love, but now they got Algier in there. They're restructuring. They restructured Connor's contract. Yeah, they seem kind of all over. They could go offensive line, but I'm gonna shake things up. I'm gonna take the pass rusher and Bailey here. I think he does a good job winning with speed, and he's countered off of speed really nicely with a lot of different stuff. I think he competes against the run. There is some kind of retreating that he does a little bit there, but I do think, like, they kind of, I mean, if they're going to move off Sweat, especially, like, they don't have kind of this guy, right? Ojulari's been hurt a bunch, and Darius Robinson's kind of that tweener. Like, it doesn't seem like they really have that guy.
Definitely fair. Speaking of moving off Sweat, another one here with the Titans. I don't think acquiring Jermaine Johnson in that deal prohibits them from drafting an edge rusher here if they wanted to do that. It's just whether or not you think Bain is worth the pick. And a couple of these, top flight edge rushers are off the board already and early, and this is kind of how it could go. It's a premium position. And a lot of people have been connecting the Jeremiah Love to the Titans dot at number 4. I don't think they're necessarily forced to do that. I mean, they have Tajay Spears and, of course, Tony Pollard still there. Not that that's going to stop you from potentially taking Jeremiah Love, who's younger and better than those other options, but I'm not sure it has to be that way. Some people have connected the Sonny Styles dot as well, but I think with a guy like Robert Saleh, who has had these awesome linebackers, how often have they been taken super high in the draft? Those have been players that have been developed. You look at Fred Warner, I would think most notably recently, that was not even a top 50 pick in the draft. I think he went 3rd, maybe like way down the board.
Yeah.
Maybe he was top 100, but I can't remember exactly. I think he might opt to build up the trenches here. And I guess Bain is going to be my pick by default. I think he's got a wide range of places where he could go. I think maybe it starts at 2, even though that seems a bit rich, and it could go, 12 plus potentially. I think he's not a lock to go top 5 like everybody seems to think online, but I also could see him going top 5, and I will pencil him in here, the Titans at 4.
Okay.
And I think it's a nice combination. It's easier to find these designated pass rushers down the board. I think Bain, even if he doesn't evolve into this premium pass rusher in the NFL, I think he gives you a high floor as a run defender. And I think there is like considerable value to that. A guy that you're not going to have to take off the field. And even if he's not a high production sack guy, I think he could be a high pressure guy. And I think we saw that at Miami. And I think we kind of see that with the skill set. He's got good bend for his size, but I don't find him a particularly bendy player. And a lot of times that results in pressure, not production in the NFL.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, as you said, kind of with the first 3 picks, it's a premium position, right? And with a lot of these edge rushers, if Tennessee wants one later, it's kind of going to be like choosing between which type of edge rusher you're going to get later. And whereas Bain, I think, is, again, as you said, providing the run game where you kind of have to nowadays. It's kind of hard to have 2 guys at 240 on the edge, right? Especially if you're going to hang in in a lot of sub packages, right? You need guys who can stand guys up in the run game, and he definitely does that. This is interesting with kind of 3 guys, maybe 2.5 edge rushers, I guess you could say, off the board early here. That makes it interesting because now I have Love and Styles available to me at 5. I may consult you perhaps here because I know that they have plenty of options. Like they're not like really limited in like, oh, they need to go here, right? Like the talent, as you mentioned, receiver, safety solid, right? They've signed guys in previous years to long deals, but offensive line, they could always upgrade there. Like, do you right now have a preference on the board if it falls like this?
It's a tough one because there are some good players here, but it's like who's actually going to be worth the value? And I think the answer is probably closer to nobody. Because even if Sonny Styles becomes this great linebacker, it's an off-ball linebacker at 5. I mean, what is best case scenario? It's like the likelihood of him becoming Fred Warner is very small. And I think I mentioned Fred Warner because, well, not only is he like a super athlete, he's the best linebacker in the league. And that's kind of what Styles would need to become if you take him at number 5, just because of the value that you can find at linebacker, not only down the board, but in general. You look at the contract Devin Lloyd just signed. This is not a premium position. Nobody seems to care. And Devin Lloyd isn't the best linebacker in the league, but he had a great season.
Yeah.
And he didn't really get very much money in comparison to a lot of these other deals going out there. So Styles is kind of a tough one. Maui Noah seems less likely with the Jermaine Illuminor extension.
Right.
And even if you're going to say, well, you could fall back as guard. Well, so you're not going to take a fallback option at guard at number 5. I don't really see the value with Downs at 5. Jeremiah Love is another running back to add to the mix. Carnell Tate, I don't think the Giants, and I've mocked him to the Giants at 5, but I don't think the Giants want to go pass heavy this year. Everything that they're doing says that they want to be power run.
Yeah.
And then you look at corner. They lost Flott, Mansour, Delane. Potentially it seems a bit early, but it's a premium position at least, and he'll be a starter. So you got a lot of different ways to go, to your point.
I know.
I didn't make it easier. I just
no. But I do like you going through it all because I think even for me, like being as big of a fan of Styles, I do agree. Like to justify it, in a couple seasons time, you better be able to look back and go, oh yeah, like he was that dude. Because I agree, like the linebacker position, unless you have like the true Fred Warner, again, we're going to bring him up again, but like the true difference maker, he is a cut above everybody. That's what you're hoping for here. And yeah, I think I'm going to do it just because I think I want to see him play behind the group that's going to be showing up in the front 4. I love how that front 7 sets up with him doing it. I considered Delane. I think that would throw an awesome wrench into a lot of this, but I think I'm going to stick with Styles. It is tricky though. It is tricky based on how these teams are going to look at it come draft day.
Yeah, this is wide open for me here at 6 because every offensive lineman's available. The top receiver is still available. And I think Tate is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 in this class just because he doesn't have the question marks that a lot of these other guys do. With Lemon, it's the size and I guess overall athleticism. With Tyson, it's the injury stuff. Tate is just a pretty clean prospect. And it's tempting here at number 6. It's just, would I rather go Monroe Freeling here is kind of the other option because they're in need of a left tackle and he projects to be the best one, even if he's not that right now. He's definitely flashed that ability. Maui Noah is going to be a pure right tackle or guard, and it's tough to say which direction they would go. I think I'll go Carnell Tate here because I have more questions about the offensive lineman. Like, would I rather Monroe Freeling at 6 or Caleb Lomu at 20, whatever? Sure. I think that's an argument to be made, 24. And not even that he's an incredible player, but they might see more value with receiver if they think Carnell Tate is truly a cut above without all the question marks. Keep him in state. And maybe he's never like a true number 1, but I think he's going to be a good player. So it raises the floor of the offense, which is basically in the basement right now.
Yeah, I like it. I think he plays with, I think, so much control too. And whether that's down the field, around the sideline, especially, which I don't think people highlight as much, it does seem. I saw someone comp him to Jordy Nelson, which is really interesting, honestly. I actually don't mind that too much with how he played down the field. But I think Browns fans are going to have a fun discussion about, like, would you rather have Carnell Tate, and you mentioned Lomu, or Freeling and someone like Cooper or Boston or somebody like that. We'll see what happens with Cooper here, but I don't mind it with, as you said. I think there are there's no, to me, I don't even think there's necessarily a Membu for these tackles right now. Like it's Membu just kind of locked up everybody that he came across in the SEC last year, and I just don't feel like we've gotten that from anybody to this point.
I think Maui Noah is probably the closest, but you question his movement skills the way you did not with Membu, who moved very fluidly. He just didn't have, maybe the measurables, even though I think the length ended up being okay.
I think so.
He's only like 6'4", which I say only. It's like, that is on the smaller end of tackles. You don't see many 6'3" tackles, right?
Right.
So, if he's 6'3" and 7/8", still pretty tiny for a tackle, all things considered, even though we're talking about inches here. But these teams care about that. That's the thing.
Yeah, he does. I think Cassius Howell is probably the one point of concern that you'd like have to dig around and find on the film from at least this past year, where it's like, you can kind of see him leaning to try and close off that edge from guys who are faster than him coming around the corner. There are going to be guys who are bigger that are that fast, and it is tricky. Commanders at 7. Yikes. They really could use all of it. They really could use all of it defensively.
No one really talks about their receiver room either, and it's abysmal. Who do you like in that receiver room outside Terry McLaurin? Name one guy. It's like he can't really, especially like, even if you like the name value of Debo, he's a free agent. Yeah. Right. I don't think that he's been brought back. Right. So like Diami Brown is a Jaguar. Van Jefferson is a Titan now. So you brought back Treylon Burks and you have Luke McCaffrey. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's not great. And I was hoping you were going to go Freeling so I could take Carnell Tate here and kind of solve that. Because, what are they going to do? I mean, are they going to go get Ayuk? Potentially. But, like, again, he is honestly
gamble.
And a big mystery. Like, is he healthy? Is he been working out, right? Like, there was that concern before he signed his contract, right? Of, like, it took him a couple games to get up to speed. So if he hasn't been doing any of that, who knows? But again, then for Washington, it's like, without Tate here, are you like comfortable with a guy who's played primarily slot or a guy who has injuries across the board? I think there's a reason the Saints and the Chiefs went out and got running back here. I think they know something. So I'm going to make this one Jeremiah Love here and create the backfield that hopefully Jane Daniels comes back. Maybe not in your case at the highest level, so the Giants can stay ahead of them in the standings. But those two as a duo in the backfield could be an absolute nightmare. And Jeremiah Love, I think there's two really fun plays where he routes up guys as a receiver. One of them being Keontae Scott, who I think a lot of people really like in this class. But then obviously delivering blocks, some of the balance, some of the quicks, all of that. Extremely high level player. Do you have Love on the same tier as like the Bijan, the Genties? I don't know where you had those guys exactly, but
I think they were both very close, and I think Love is close. I think all three of those guys kind of have a different calling card that made them special. I think with Genty was the contact balance was unbelievable. With Bijan, I guess you did get that as well, but also add in the vision and the unbelievable quickness. Like Bijan will take a negative or no gain type of play and turn it into 3, 4, 6, 7 yards. Like that's just his thing. And that's incredible. Jeremiah Love, on the other hand, will turn them into 60 and 70 yard plays. He's got, home run hitting speed like those other backs just did not have. And his vision is not poor. and his contact balance is not poor. I don't know that they're absolutely elite the way we saw with the other guys, but I think he's in that same tier, different type of a back. I think it goes Saquon most recently in a tier of his own, and then I would put Bijan, Genti, Love all pretty close in that second tier of top tier running back prospect. And I was a big Jahmyr Gibbs fan, but I think he's probably just below.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, it is strange because he's kind of cut a little higher than these guys, so he isn't like he can't as easily drop the weight to kind of absorb hits, which makes it a little which makes it, I think, all that more impressive that he can do that sometimes. But yeah, you got the Saints at 8 with kind of an interesting board that fell to you here.
Yeah, I admittedly don't love it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Give me a scroll down to see who's all available. Yeah, even though I already know it's going to be one of those top couple. I mean, it's too early for Lemon. You'd love to go D-line, but the right guy is not especially available. I mean, they brought in David Edwards in free agency, but guard is still potentially a need.
It's true.
Man, the right guy really is not there. That's a particularly difficult thing. What is the Saints secondary looking like?
Yeah, could they go in state?
I mean, obviously they lost, to a huge contract. Alontae Taylor,
a big one. Yeah,
their current corners, it looks like Isaac Yadam, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley. That's a pretty poor group. I guess let's go Mansour Delane here. We'll keep him in state, and it's just maybe the right combination of best player available with team need. It gets right there. I can't see them going safety in this spot. It's hard to rationalize a guard. I mean, I guess you'd be taking Maui Noah to play at right guard over Cesar Ruiz, but he's still under contract. You're not taking Ioane to put him in at right guard there, probably.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's a receiver here really worth taking. I think it is an interesting idea, or it was, to maybe even consider Kenyon Sadiq at the very high end here, but they pay Noah Fant. So
yeah, they did.
It's tough to say what the Saints are going to do, but
yeah,
the world might be their oyster. Like, I think a good player at a position of need will get to them at 8. It's just a question of who.
Yeah, and then as kind of we've had it right to this point, the Saints may have that opportunity if somebody wants Freeling very badly. Maybe Detroit. Maybe Detroit's like, yeah, we got to get the next left tackle. Like, I think they could maybe go either way. We'll obviously get to them, but yeah, if somebody really wants Freeling, maybe if something like this were to occur for them, they don't get a chance at maybe Bain, which I feel like is probably pretty popular at this point, right? Him falling to there.
That's what I do most often, I would say.
Yeah, I think then it kind of opens the door. Yeah, same with Tate as well, not falling here. Like they may be the team that says, yeah, who wants Freeling real bad to this point? Like, again, Detroit might be that team. Who knows? Speaking of Kenyon Sadiq, that is fascinating here because it seems like I don't know if you've buzzed around the Chiefs spear recently. Since that trade, though, they're kind of like, yeah, but even before the trade, it was like offensive line, they don't think they need it. I'm not sure I necessarily agree.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Moore is under contract for 1 season, and he's also Jalen Moore.
Yeah, and like but again, like, do they want Mauano out of tackle? Do they want, I think one of maybe the more interesting options would be that Josh Simmons has played right tackle, and it's been a while, but he has done it. And Freeling going to the left, Simmons go back to the right is an option. But I'm going to make it, I think, even more difficult for myself at 15 with Tampa Bay. And let's roll the dice. Kansas City, we've seen them do this. They've done this in the Veach era. Some interesting selections in the first. Let's go Kenyon Sadiq to them at 9. Which do you see Sadiq on the? And I know it's not the same player. At least for me. as the guys last year in Warren and Loveland? Do you feel like he's on their level? Are you scared off by maybe the frame at all?
I mean, I think he's at least on the same level of a blocker as Loveland was.
Okay.
But I thought Loveland was a better route runner. But I also think Sadiq's a better athlete, but he's also not as big. So it's a fun combination there. I thought Tyler Warren was very good. I think I had him a cut above Loveland with the blocking ability, which and the size that enables you to be successful playing inline in the NFL, where Sadiq's just not going to be an inline player. So whenever you take a player like this, the question becomes, if he's not going to be a tight end, he's a receiver, essentially, even if that's a big slot. Do you like him more than the receivers on your team for him to play receiver over the receivers? So I think in this case with this team, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be the case potentially for every team and every player.
Oh, no.
But I think Sadiq's close.
Okay.
I really do like him, and I think his athleticism's not is not surprising. It was not like, oh my goodness, I can't believe Sadiq is an incredible athlete. Maybe not to the level. I didn't know he was going to run 4.39 or whatever and jump 45 inches or 43 and a half. But I knew he was a very good athlete, good jump ball player. I think some of the drops have been just concentration. I think overall, he kind of like Jeremiah Love to those last backs we talked about. I think Sadiq's close to the last tight ends. But
yeah, I think as you mentioned, is he going to be valuable enough to be a cut above receivers on your team? Because he's not. I think he honestly, and someone pointed this out. I think it was Max Toscano, who does awesome work on the tight end position. Like, he kind of is like Kraft in that he's extremely good linearly, like extremely good in that regard, and he competes his butt off when it's against ancillary pieces in the run game. He just isn't, as you said, I don't think he's as sharp as a Loveland running routes. And to me, I trying to think about this predictively is kind of like, I have the feeling like I don't want to do this, but I've seen the Chiefs do some crazy things in round one, and it just would not shock me.
Their options are not incredible here in general. It's just, it comes down to probably O-line, downs, given what safety looks like. But I don't hate safety now as much as I hate corner for them, because I was a firm believer in Jaden Hicks coming out. And I thought, I couldn't believe he fell so far in the draft. And I thought he has played fairly well when he's been on the field for Kansas City. They bring in Alohi Gilman, who played well. So it's like, I don't know that the Chiefs are going to say, hey, safety's the best move for us at 9, as good as Caleb Downs is. And I think you can make a similar argument here with Cincinnati, where I'm not going to take Caleb Downs because I don't necessarily think the Bengals will do that here. I'm not a huge Jordan Battle guy. They pay Brian Cook. I still think they might heavily prioritize an edge rusher, even with the addition of Boye Mafe. And I think a Bengals type of edge here that we've seen is Keldrick Falk from Auburn. And I think he's one of the more underrated players in the draft at this point, because I think this is someone with elite level measurables, length that teams care for. And he's got the best run defending ability, I think, of any edge in this class. He's exceptional in that regard, in my opinion. And not only is he going to be able to set the edge, he can shoot through gaps and make plays. He's got surprising quickness for his size. You know, people say, oh, he's not David Bailey or whatever. Well, yeah, because he's 40 pounds heavier than David Bailey.
Yes.
Why would he be that? You don't want him to be the same player.
No, definitely.
And I think the Bengals go out and get a Boye Mafe, and I think we can agree that Mafe's not the typical 3-down edge. He's added weight since he's come to the NFL, but he's more of a pure pass rusher than Keldrick Falk is against the run. So that could be a fun combination anyway. If Mafe kind of figures to be your Joseph Osai replacement, you still might be looking for a big edge. I don't think you have any long-term attachment to Miles Murphy. Hopefully Shamar Stewart comes along. But this just seems like a Bengals type of player. And he was a little bit inconsistent playing on the interior, at least in 2025. But you've got an option to go with a fun package. Like, I don't want to call it NASCAR necessarily, because Falk is not like a 250-pound speed rush guy,
Right.
but you can go nose tackle, whether that's the former Packer, TJ Slayton, or even Jonathan Allen playing over the center, and then go Shamar Stewart, Keldrick Falk, Miles Murphy, Boye Mafe, 5-man front, and get after the QB, or take one of those edge rushers out to bring in somebody else. But Falk gives you value anywhere from 3, 4-eye, 5 tech, all the way to the edge. I mean, when you get him on a runway, there's something there. So anyway, long-winded answer to say Falk. It just seems like the Bengals pick, even though people seem to be down on him as a player. I implore you to actually watch him and maybe come away surprised.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people point to the get off as a big thing, but that of all things seems like much more fixable than other things. He's like other guys can't become bigger. They're not gonna, they're not gonna, as you said, you talked about like him versus Bailey. Like Bailey's not gonna suddenly beat 270, 280. Like he's not going to do that. And so if they want the players like Stewart, and I know Murphy hasn't worked out, but they want that type of player, and they want him, want that player at a high level. Like, I mean, to keep swinging it at edge rusher, defensive end, whatever you want to call it, like it seems like pretty solid process to me.
Yeah, and you got to factor in 19, 20 years old playing in the SEC.
Right.
He's not an old prospect that's got around. This is a true junior who's going to be a 20-year-old rookie up until his birthday in September, I think it is. So got a lot to work with. With Bengals fans probably tired of hearing that. Oh, here's this fun developmental edge rusher. He put up 7 sacks in 2024. This is not a guy who's never sacked the quarterback before. 7 in like 12, 13 games is pretty good, especially playing the SEC as an 18 or 19-year-old.
Right. And being a bigger guy who's not always going to win with, he's not getting the 9 tech runways that some of these guys are getting, right, to get to the QB either. So yeah, I don't mind that. I feel like, again, like the guys like Stewart and Michael Williams, they're still going to be valuable because as I kind of mentioned before, like you have to be able to have bigger bodies defending the run. Like you can kind of mix it up, right? You can set the 4-man front with Falk and Mafe at times out there, right? Like there's nothing against that, but you also, you can't be having, super small guys up front. You're going to get gashed. Teams have no problem running under center and gashing you if you're going to do that. So Dolphins at 11. Yeah, this is a comfy spot for me. Green Bay South. Lots of options here for Green Bay South to go. I think that, Falk could be in play for them too, honestly, when all is said and done, if he doesn't go to Cincinnati. I think they certainly could use a running mate for Waddle. Like, I don't think some of their recent signings are, going, oh man, they absolutely won't go receiver now. I think they could go Delane. It's really a question of, I feel like McCoy's going to drop. I don't know about you. It just seems like teams are just uncomfortable with him not have played in a long time, and not, running or anything like that at the combine was maybe weird because they said he could have come back and play. So there is some questions with that. I think what I'm going to do, because we've got a QB in Miami, we'll see for how long. And I think that even though he might not be viewed quite as a guarantee at right tackle, adding Mawanoa to this team raises the floor of a question mark that has plagued this team for years under Chris Greer. So we're going to go Mawanoa at 11.
See that? Keep him in the city. It's fun.
Yeah, we got 2 guys staying in state, 1 guy staying in city. Feels good so far.
I was really going to consider Mawanoa at 12.
They've got kind of one spot that you maybe don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah, but
well, maybe even more than that, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about Guyton as well. So
yeah, I think Guyton is probably a better right tackle. So it's like, if you put Freeling in the mix, that could be kind of interesting. I'm going to go Caleb Downs, though. I think it just might be a situation of best player available, especially big name for this team as well. They bring in Jalen Thompson. I don't really think that matters a whole ton. I think he's a good player, But I mean, even Jalen Thompson, Malik Hooker, I think you could still potentially add somebody else. And if Caleb Downs is going to play that overhang role a lot, that could be pretty effective. And like the top edge guys are off the board. So are you taking a linebacker here at 12? I don't necessarily think so. Although the Cowboys have surprised us before with, picks that were kind of deemed to be reaches. And then they end up being pretty good players. Not always, but sometimes, maybe better on the offensive line than defensive line historically for them. But Downs just might be kind of a no-brainer type of selection here.
Yeah, I think, and especially as you said, Dallas has kind of gone off the board at times in recent memory, and having 2 first-round picks, they may feel like, and it may be more teams even might feel like this of like, we're open the door to like we can go non-premium with one of these two. We feel comfortable about it, especially if the value matches, and I feel like Downs does match that. If Downs is gone, I wouldn't even be surprised if they went Thieneman at 12. Honestly.
I had that in my last mock. People did not care for it, but it seems like it's not impossible, especially if they're looking for a rangy free safety. It's like that's what Thieneman is.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you want your defense to be multiple too, it's like kind of listen. Caleb Downs is awesome, great player, fantastic. I don't think he's quite a guy you trust on the back end if you rotate into single eye. I feel like Thieneman's going to be the guy you trust a little bit more doing that. And so as far as kind of hybrid players go, Thieneman's kind of got that extra edge in terms of playing post safety at Purdue and performing at a pretty high level. Okay. Los Angeles Rams, another team that honestly wouldn't shock me if they're in Sadiq either, even though they have like 4 tight ends in their room.
They do.
It's crazy. But hey, they seem committed. So wouldn't be surprised by that. Man, this feels almost perfect for them in terms of if they want to go offensive line and stash him or find a spot for him. Right. I know McClendon, they've got Alaric Jackson under contract for, I think, a couple more seasons. I think the out is next year, though, like the out that doesn't hurt them too much. But also, if they don't trust Devontae Adams to be healthy for full seasons and they want to do the all-in thing offensively, that opens the door, I think, for receiver. And I'm going to actually do that. But I don't think it's going to be one anyone's thinking. I'm going to take Omar Cooper.
Okay. Very Rams type of player. I saw Jeremiah tweet that out, and I'm like, it's pretty true. But I think you can make the same argument for Lemon skill set wise.
Yeah, probably.
Cooper might have a little bit of juice compared to Mekhi Lemon, a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think and I know sometimes the blocking technique, I know Lemon tries with the technique. He's not. Cooper will just run into people as well. He's not afraid to generate collisions. And I think the Rams are going, okay, so he wants it. And I think, as you said, the juice, I think both him and Lemon offer a ton after the catch in terms of their skill sets. But yeah, I think there's a level of catch radius that I think you can get away with more of with Cooper as well. I think there are some times with Cooper where obviously, not a lot of perimeter snaps to be comfortable with that. They stayed more condensed sets, but the Rams are not afraid of doing that. I know they've kind of strayed away with it a little bit last year because they have ISO winners. But yeah, I think, again, you're going to give a guy to this group who can do kind of the things after the catch that Devontae Adams really can't do. And obviously Puka's tough like that. But as I said, I think a different gear this offense will have with him.
It's kind of a fun spot here. Ravens back on the clock. First mock I've done with the Ravens back at 14 after the Maxx Crosby trade, not trade. I'm going to go Spencer Fano.
Okay.
And it's not really going to be to play right tackle. It might even be to play center after losing Tyler Linderbaum. So I think you will find a spot for Fano. He might even go higher than this, but this feels like kind of the perfect spot with the Ravens back at 14. And I think they might have thought that as well. And that might be part of why they pulled out of that Maxx Crosby trade, picked up and pivoted to Trey Hendrickson. And I don't think they thought they were going to lose Linderbaum. I thought they thought that was in the bag. Every report seemed like he was going back to Baltimore until he didn't.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, you really need center. And if you like some of the centers down the board, let's say it's Connor Lew or Jake Slaughter or one of my personal favorites in the class, Logan Jones, you could do that, and Fano could play guard. And this is not too early for a potential premium guard.
Right.
And you have needs at left and right guard. But if Fano can come back and play center too, if it doesn't work out, or if you prefer him there, I think this is a pretty decent selection.
Yeah, having somebody with that versatility, or potential versatility at least. I mean, clearly
it's a little bit of guesswork, but
yeah,
I mean, he moves so well. It's
does.
not a huge.
He does.
How can this guy move to the inside? Are his feet quick enough? Is he strong enough? Maybe is the only big question.
Right.
But at center, you're not really as worried about that.
Yeah, and Declan Doyle coming over from Chicago, where Dahlman's not the biggest guy, but what is he? He is extremely quick. And yeah, to have a guy play with that quickness, and again, it might be a learning curve for sure, but I think the Ravens are in a position where they have to address this. And yeah, as long as he lands somewhere on this line long term, I think they're pretty pleased with it. Okay, the dreaded 15th pick that I mentioned to Bengal before we started, of like, I did not really want this, but here we are. Okay. Doing this back-to-back years, probably a little wild, I think. But I mean, I'd consider Tyson for sure, if not for the injury history. And I think they might as well. You've lost Evans. You did bring back Otten. Like, they are in a decent position where they could go get a guy because of what their room looks like. There's a lot of great players who are kind of primarily slot players on this team, and you could go get the X. I'm not opposed to Ioane, although I don't imagine they're on a massive search for this. I could be wrong.
No, I mean, I don't know why guard is always listed as a need on the PFF simulator.
Like they need it, right?
Like, I think it may be something they could consider, but something that you would draft this high. I mean, maybe Ben Bredesen's not your best option, but Cody Mock's a good player. Like, this is,
yes, he is.
It's not where you need to go, oh my goodness, guard needs to be fixed. Tight end, I don't really even think is a huge need anymore. It's just a question of whether or not Otten would be back.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to get Sadiq, maybe, because he's a different type of player.
Sure.
But receiver, I think, very much in play.
Does Sadiq for them create a Buffalo Bills problem potentially in Tampa Bay? Because it kind of feels like it might. It kind of feels like it would now.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the comparison there. I think Otten is a better player than Dawson Knox is. So I don't, and I think
it's more of like Sadiq. Like, they have Ibuka and McMillan who are good slot players, right? Coleman and Shakir are both better there. Then you've got the Kincaid Sadiq type of thing.
No,
I get what you're saying. It's so strange. I think we'll go Tyson. We'll roll the dice injury wise here and get a kind of perimeter player that now you've lost Evans. It is strange for this team to be going back to back there, but again, they're a tricky team because, as we mentioned, like, their edge rushers available here are just not like fitting necessarily first round measurables, or just have something that gives you pause there. It's different.
Makes things very interesting for the Jets at 16. Yeah. I was really getting in the habit of thinking this was a Venga Ioane spot just because who's going to play guard for them. But they bring in Dylan Parham, who is okay. And you're going to keep Joe Tippmann at guard. Still feel like he'd be a better center, but seems like they like Josh Myers there enough. Whether that's good or bad, it is anybody's guess, I guess. But he's definitely had his ups and downs, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, Green Bay got worse when he left, so that's, who knows what that means? Who knows what that means?
Offensive linemen, but their offensive line somehow never gets better or more consistent. And Rasheed Walker signed that 1-year deal with Carolina, was it?
Yep, that's right.
I thought he was going to get way more.
Yeah, but I don't know. Teams smartened up apparently. I don't know what that's about. Like, I struggle to believe one signing of Dan Moore like really freaked teams out at a position that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, but it's bizarre.
It was weird.
I guess he was unfortunately a free agent a year too late.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably lean Lemon here. I like the potential of bringing in Jermod McCoy, who I do think is the best corner in the class, but obviously there's a bit of guesswork with that because we haven't seen it. But I go back to Derek Stingley, a little bit different. He played 3 games his final season, and they were not good games either.
True.
If memory serves.
I think that's right.
Goes number 3 overall and becomes an all-pro type of player. So it's like, it seems like all it takes is one team, right? If there's one team that says, you know what, we like 2024 Jermod McCoy that much, the way the Texans said we liked, 2020 Derek Stingley that much and 2019 Derek Stingley that much. He got drafted number 3 overall because of his freshman season in the SEC.
It's true.
And it worked out. It doesn't always, but in this case, it worked out.
Yeah.
So adding in McCoy, I just don't know that you're going to get a player like this at number 16 because he's a potential top 5 player in the class based off of 2024.
Yeah.
I am going to go Mekhi Lemon, though, because I think he completes this receiving core. I like Adonai Mitchell a lot. No particular reason.
Yes.
But I do like him. And he's someone that continues to flash and have these big games. He's just got to be more consistent. And I recognize that he's not right now, but the potential is a very good wide receiver too on that team. Lemon is an easy plug and play in the slot. And Wilson, we know, can be a number 1, even if he's good in the slot as well. But Mitchell's a clear outside guy. Bringing in true slot, I think, kind of completes this receiving core. And then I like this offense.
Yeah.
The Jets offense looks good minus the quarterback position. And I also think Geno's going to bounce back with the Jets. Better offensive line, better weapons. Yeah. That seems like a recipe for more success. And it doesn't really get worse than what happened last year. Everyone's down on Geno. I totally get it. I totally do. And I think Geno could be absolutely awful in 2026. But there is a world where he's a reasonably good starter.
Yeah.
Even if it's fringe top 20, it's the Jets. I mean, what do you want? If he's bad, you pick high, you get your quarterback next year. And if he's good, well, you are still going to have a high pick probably anyway.
Yeah.
So
thanks to Indy potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if Dallas or Green Bay's bad, either way, they're good. Or it doesn't matter if you can
trade them up potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like that. I think I knew you were, but it's great to hear someone still on the Adonai Mitchell trade. I gotta love that.
I'll go down with the ship.
I don't use it as much, but like ESPN's open score, he's like super high in that metric, and like fantasy points data has him as like one of the best separation guys. Like he does. It's just, man, we just consistent down to down, and the team with this trio with hopefully a talented quarterback, they could be a problem very, very quickly. Detroit at 17. I mean, it's easy. Yeah, this is easy. They need it. They don't have to move Sewell. Freeling's probably going to have a few warts, and I get like maybe, we're a little concerned about that with Goff, and he's kind of a statue back there, and all of that. I think he's going to a place that I think is going to be all about developing that offensive lineman. Like I think that Campbell's going to be. I think if they make this pick, if they even go get him, which I mentioned earlier, they might even rush to trade up. It wouldn't shock me at all. They're going to have the plan in place. They've probably, they will have met the player. They will have understand it. Kind of, all right, this is the path we're going to put him on. And I mean, when you run the ball, you're going to be really pleased. Like that Mississippi game with him in the movement skills, where he can snap off of blocks and get to linebackers with that kind of movement skill is it's absurd. It really is. And they're going to take the chance here. I think if they go Freeland or if they get Proctor here in some other, reality, like I think either way, it's going to be some growing pains. And that's kind of what happens with tackle. It's hard. It's hard to play.
We saw with Penei Sewell on this team when he was making the transition from left to right tackle and then becomes the best right tackle in the league, or just about. Man, can you name a worse offseason the Minnesota Vikings have had?
Yeah, it's been pretty rough.
They brought in James Pierre. Obviously, they cut a lot of, aging talent. And
Yes,
then they
they
take the shot on Kyler Murray, which, I mean, I think he can find success in Minnesota. Josh Dobbs did briefly, and I think the level that Murray offers you is significantly higher than the Pastronaut.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a fun board for Minnesota because you have the option of Thieneman and McCoy, and the secondary is so poor. But I also think you win up front, and even if it seems maybe a touch early, I'm going to go Caleb Banks here. First defensive tackle off the board. Yeah. And I think gives you super high upside. He's got elite length. He's got very good athleticism. Apparently ran his 40 on a broken foot, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah.
It was like, 505 or something? And we already knew he was a good athlete. But this is another guy, kind of like Stingley, only played 3 games this past season and then ends up heading to the draft. But he flashed in those games. He's got heavy hands. It's something I always look for on the interior D line. It's like, what is that punch looking like? Are you really do you have shock in those hands? I think he does. I think he offers you a pretty good floor as a run defender. He's got elite size. So I think someone's going to end up falling in love with the potential, and maybe it's Minnesota. New GM in the picture after Kwesi got fired. So it's tough to know what a draft tendency will be. But I think the value if Banks works out, the top interior defensive lineman in the draft might be more valuable than a really good single high or, deep half free safety in Dylan Thieneman, or with the injury concerns with Jermod McCoy, maybe you don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't know that you want James Pierre starting for you. That feels disastrous. But I truly do like the value at corner down the board. I think there's some really, really good players. And with the interior D-line, down the board, you're choosing type. There's some great nose tackles, and there are some high upside athletic, interior penetrators that are going to be in the like Omar Norman Lott type of mold for those familiar with him last year.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're finding the 3 down guy outside of like Banks or, Kristen Miller's in that conversation, but Peter Woods, of course. I don't know that Lee Hunter. I think Lee Hunter's like Caleb Banks light, but he's not the same level of athlete.
Right.
And he also is inconsistent. I don't really get the hype with Lee Hunter as much, but I know some people really like him. But I don't see him going in the first. I think Caleb Banks certainly could be. I don't really know. Who do you think is going to be the first interior defensive lineman off the board, or even the first 2?
Man,
I don't think you could do any combination of like the top 6. Will they go in the top 20 even? Will they go in the first? Right. Maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think there's a chance 1 or 2, but I don't know. I think Lee Hunter is very solid. But again, he isn't game changing. And the 3 techs I think matter. Like Caleb Banks could probably do that. Like Peter Woods is slimmed down to, I think, do that at the next level. But again, the Peter Woods stock thing seems to be tumbling. Like how far he's fallen on DJ's board is very interesting to kind of look at this point. I kind of think it's going to be Banks and McDonald are probably going to be the first 2 at this point. I can see that. I think at this point, just because I think Banks won the athletic upside, as you mentioned, right? Guys at 6'6", 330, just they don't move like this. And I think McDonald, right, you watch Lee Hunter do what he's doing as kind of an older player, and you go, okay, maybe at 21, Caden McDonald can eventually get there. And we know he's going to be able to allow us to commit more bodies to coverage because of how well he plays.
I love McDonald. So I'm seeing that you're a big Lee Hunter guy. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He's not the perfect interior defensive line prospect. None of these guys are. Like if Caleb Banks falls out of the first round, I'm not going to be like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's tough to think about any of these guys being locked first round picks. I think, if you go in like the Ohio State connection, Tyleek Williams mold, like that's Caden McDonald or close-ish. It's like, that's a solid player, but he's not going to be a top 15 pick. And when you talk about guys that are not locked for top 15 or top 20, there's a very high probability they fall out of the first round entirely. There are only so many spots. After the top 20, you have 12 picks that could be made, or 11 picks. 12. It kind of depends how you factor in after or with the 20th pick. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. But you get the point. Like a lot of these guys, they're close. You can order them in a bunch of different ways. It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, that group, and yeah, as you mentioned, it's kind of a group of 5 or 6 that are really just kind of in a position where it's like, this can work here, but also I could go a different direction with offensive line, or obviously there's some corners down the board now. So yeah, I do agree. I think this is a great spot. This is a great spot for Banks, especially as you said, they shed the Allen and Hargrave contracts pretty quickly into free agency. So Carolina at 19, I know that they have been called a Sadiq team. I know that they've, some people really don't like when they go receiver after going receiver the last 2 years of the first. I understand that. I just think one of those two was surprising, to say the least.
I think Lee Gett was like my 50th player that year.
Yeah,
I wanted to include him on the list, but he was like one of the most boomer bust guys in the draft. And I think they moved up for him, didn't they? They moved back into the first.
I think that's right. Yeah, because they moved
up.
They
were Caleb
the Bills,
Williams trade. They were out of the first, weren't they?
Because they were out of the first. I think it was the Bills, right? They moved up the Bills. Bills moved back to the Chiefs once, and then moved back again.
I can't remember who moved back. I think that does sound right, but I think it was like the Bryce Young to get Caleb Williams trade meant the Panthers didn't have the first. Was that right?
I think
sometimes these years get mixed up.
They really do. But yeah, because that was Caleb's draft. Yeah, so they wouldn't have had it because that was Caleb in Rome. Yeah, Carolina did not have a first. But with Ladd on the board, and with, I would say at this point, our guy Mitchell's still on the board. A little shocking to see how that first round ended at receiver. Man, another team where if you look at it, like I know he had a good season. Mike Jackson's under contract one more year. Like they could. Again, it can only take one, as you said, with a guy like McCoy. I don't think that they're extremely set at D tackle. I think they shedded the A'Shawn Robinson contract. I know they've still got Wharton under contract. Like I wouldn't hate the idea of Brown and McDonald, and then you commit all these bodies to coverage. However, I know you've paid a safety a decent penny. However, he usually doesn't get this far when I do mocks anymore. So we're going to do it. Apparently somebody wants it. Somebody wants it to happen. So let's do it then. Let's take Dylan Thieneman right here for Carolina. Back into that defense. Looks really good. If Jackson can build on that season again, I know he'll probably get an extension. If so, J.C. Horn's back there. You have Merrig. They're looking linebacker, but I think a guy like Thieneman's a little more valuable than the linebackers that are here, right? Obviously, if you get Styles to fall this far, awesome, cool. You've won the draft. You've turned into the Ravens or Eagles. That did not happen, but I do like Thieneman more than the linebackers still available.
Yeah, I like that. Man, I think this has fallen pretty well for Dallas. You can make an argument here for McCoy, of course.
Absolutely,
but I think it really is between those bottom two names on the board, TJ Allen and Akeem Mesidor. I also think TJ Parker might end up going fairly high. The tape's not great, but like he checks off every other box.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
It's tough to say. Went Caleb Downs at 12.
Yes, that's right.
I surely they're not done with the edge with just bringing in Rashawn Gary and thinking that that's going to be fine. Like this pass rush needs to improve. They brought back Sam Williams. They brought in Tyrus Wheat. So at least they have depth. It's not good depth necessarily. Although I think Sam Williams could for some reason turn into something. Like he's flashed. And I really like the Ole Miss tape. Obviously, it's some other stuff going on off the field that maybe has contributed to not being such an NFL star, but I think I'm going to go CJ Allen here.
Okay.
I think it's another guy who checks off a lot of boxes. I don't think the Cowboys care about positional value as much. I think we've seen that. And they are missing a Mike linebacker desperately. Now, I kind of think CJ Allen is maybe a better will profile, but if he's the green dot guy at Georgia making, checks and calls in the middle of that defense, there's a value to that, right? And if you plug that into the middle of this Dallas Cowboys defense that was one of the worst in the league, he's a plus athlete with decent size. He's good against the run and has made some plays in coverage. Played a little bit banged up this year, but I still think is quite a good player. And I had him, as I think top 10 or top 15 player preseason.
Wow.
Not much has changed. He's still a linebacker, which means he doesn't go super high in the draft unless he's a special freak alien like Sonny Styles, and he's not that. But I think he's a pretty good value pick here at 20. Obviously, very different players, but kind of reminds me of when Jack Campbell went in this range a couple years ago. And CJ Allen honestly might even have more hype, which is kind of weird looking back because you go, oh, wow, the 6'5", 250-pound Jack Campbell that moves the way he does. Why did we not think he was going to be like a top 25 pick? I had him at, I think, just outside the first round. And I think maybe he left the Bills that year at like 30 or wherever they were. But yeah, I mean, these guys start to go higher. I keep talking about it on my channel. We're seeing a lot more too high shells nowadays, and teams are countering with running the ball more, which is valuing these guards really high and these interior defensive linemen high and these running backs even higher. It's like linebacker is getting pretty valuable again, and not just the 220-pound guys that can move the way those guys were valued super highly. That's how we saw Daniel Buchanan, for example, going round 1, and maybe even Isaiah Simmons a little bit going top 10. But CJ Allen is a little bit heavier than those guys, maybe closer to 235. Still love Jake Golday from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I don't think he's getting nearly enough attention, and he's pretty good. Josiah Trotter, too, against the run.
Yes.
Redshirt sophomore, he's a beast.
Yeah, and
a lot of good linebacker options, but we'll go with the second one off the board here at 20.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of people with Allen are going to be like hesitant because I know that the coverage grade isn't great, right? And they want to look for something. I get it. You want some info, and that's any info you get on a player is awesome. I think the assignments were a lot more difficult than some of these guys who have higher coverage grades. From PFF, like he was asked to.
I don't really take any stock in the grades at all.
Right, and I think that's understandable, right? I think that's fair. And so for people who are looking to that, though, I encourage you to watch him have to cover like wheel routes and having to go from the core of the formation to the sideline a lot to make plays in like that type of range to get to your coverage assignment. It matters. And yeah, I think for me at least, he's firmly linebacker 3. Yeah, I think the only thing that would, again, as you mentioned, contribute to a fall is because there are guys like Golday and Trotter and Rodriguez, who a lot of people are, I think, falling for now. Like there's so many of those guys.
Who is your second linebacker? Are you saying Reese and Styles?
I have Reese. I have Reese Styles
That's fair.
One too. Yeah, I can't quit the idea of Reese doing kind of 20 to 25% edge and having him be more linebacker full time.
I agree. I honestly think Anthony Hill is in a similar boat, not the same level of athlete or mover. Like I think Reese is a pretty special mover, and Hill I don't believe to be. But Anthony Hill's at his best when he's working downhill and rushing the QB, and he's not small. So if he's not Arvell Reese size, and that's another point of why maybe he just plays off ball. But Anthony Hill's like 240 pounds. At 6'3", and so it's not that far off.
Yeah, a lot of these guys hover around 240. This at least, a good handful of them, which
good handful.
I think is it's going to matter. I think teams have taken notice to as again how the league has shifted and how good Campbell has been and all of that. Pittsburgh, another kind of a tricky team because the top 4 receivers are not there. I think Lemon and Cooper would have been interesting personally, just because I think you have kind of your 2 big guys on the boundary, and then you could work from there. I don't think they're totally out necessarily on McCoy. I think I'm going to stick in state though. You let Sayamalo go.
Yeah, this is what I would do as well.
This group like McCormick, I like McCormick. I hope he continues to work on the trek upward. But I think this is kind of perfect for them. It kind of falls nicely. He doesn't have to move spots. This is left guard to left guard. Let's go Venga Ioane here for them.
I completely agree. I think that's just like for Detroit. I mean, it's the pick to make here.
Yeah.
And he never gets here for me. And I'd like him to because it would make my job easier. Same thing with the Chargers. And I think the need for guard in Houston is so real. and I never have a guard that I think is worth the pick to the point of where I'm like, okay, is Chase Besantis a first round guy? Is Emmanuel Pregnon a first round guy, depending on, which side you're looking for and which type? I mean, Besantis is such a good pass protector. I think Pregnon's more of a mover in the run game than Besantis is. But yeah, Ioane, I think is great there. And then you get an interesting question here at 22.
Yeah.
To where I start to be like, is McCoy worth the pick here? Because he's just too good to pass up. If you look at what the Chargers have currently in their secondary, it's not incredible. Tariq Still's a decent player. Cam Hart, Dante Jackson, cornerback could really be in consideration, as could safety. I mean, I think the Chargers defense with versus without Alohi Gilman looked very different last year. And now Gilman's gone. And what is your alternative? I'm looking at RJ Mickens, Elijah Molden, Kendall Williamson, and currently Derwin James is listed as the nickel, which we'll see what happens there. I think a lot of the things the Chargers have basically told us through their moves in free agency is that they're looking to target an edge rusher. So I guess I could see that. The interior O-line's still a need. But I'm going to get maybe a little bit weird here and go something I typically don't do, and that is address the secondary with this team. And I like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren quite a bit. I think the value with McCoy is a lot better. I like Jermod McCoy here at 22. That's what I'm going to do. I think it's just a best player available type of spot. And sometimes it just turns to that in the draft, where it's like you might have more immediate needs. You don't really draft for immediate need in the first round very often. That's a rarity. And that's why Akeem Mesidor, I guess, is still on the board. I think McCoy's too good to pass up here. I think if you go back to the 2024 film, which you have to because there's nothing in 2025, his real deficiency is just locating the ball in the air. So I'm upset he didn't have the 2025 to show us that he's a little bit better in that regard. But the athleticism is great. The ball skills are quite good. The ability to mirror and match, I think, is quite good. He just looks the part as well. He's got the size. I don't know what he's going to look like coming off the injury. But if Derek Stingley can go at number 3 overall after, a down 2020-ish and then a not good 2021 where he played a couple of games and go number 3, McCoy can go number 22. Jamar Chase didn't play with the COVID opt-out, still goes top 5. Like, McCoy could end up a lot higher than this, but a team might just end up getting a steal. I think either way, this is worth the swing at 22, especially with the next couple of teams coming up.
Yeah, and that was definitely what I was going to look at for Philly at 23. I think they would have had no problem with that to keep DeGene in the slot. Yeah, I think at some point, even if you want to say like, and I get it, like if it's a good DB coach and they can develop guys and they feel comfortable with their room, I think an icing on the cake to that is a guy falling here that I think we would both say probably shouldn't be here. I think unless the injury continues to linger, and that's really the issue, or just he's just more of kind of playing it safe in the process. Like if it's the latter, like, man, I think plenty of teams at this point are chomping at the bit to make this happen. Okay. The Eagles, I think would have been a fantastic McCoy destination. Not that they need that. Not that the rest of the league needs them to do that. But they obviously lose out on Phillips in free agency. For a long time, they've been looking and kind of throwing stuff at the wall with guys to like, okay, who's the heir apparent for Lane? I kind of don't hate that idea here. There's a lot of options that fell to them to do that. It's really more of a question if one of them would be comfortable kicking over here. So it's really trenches, which Howie Roseman has no problem doing. I think if they're comfortable with, drafting somebody here who they want to have around long term, I'm going to give them Caden Proctor. I think the NFL is not going to let him escape the first.
He was going to be taking 24.
Well,
so he wouldn't have got past the Browns.
There we go. We are now sniping each other in the 20s. So I get it. I think Mesidor would be nice for them there too. I understand that. Like I think they would probably be another team to take, the gamble there since they think they're in the winning window. And that's kind of I think where you need to be with Mesidor. But yeah, I think if this is it for Lane in 26, I think they're going to have that succession plan ready. No offense to Cameron Williams. Maybe it's him. Maybe it ends up being him. Who knows? And Proctor takes a guard spot. I think either way, I think they're going to make sure they're set up for it.
This is quite an interesting spot now because I had my mind made up. And with Titus Howard, I don't really love the idea of a Blake Miller or a Maxi Iheanacho here.
That's fair.
I don't love it. So I might just convince myself that DeJuan Jones is fine this year. And I know the Browns have needs on the O-line. They spent a little bit of money bringing in Zion Johnson. I don't know if that's going to be good. They bring in Elton Jenkins. At least it's somebody at center, even though I much prefer him at guard. The O-line is better. Man, I hate that I'm about to do this. This is weird, but give me Ty Simpson at 24.
Wow.
I think he ends up going in the first round. Okay. I don't know that this is the team. Todd Monken is showing support of Shedeur Sanders publicly, and I don't think that's the worst idea. Like, is Ty Simpson to Shedeur Sanders kind of a lateral move or vice versa? But it's in play. I think a team will end up trading up for Ty Simpson. I think Arizona is kind of like the obvious choice. Yeah. But I also think the Browns could trade up and get Ty Simpson. And it's kind of another one of those situations that we talked about. Same deal with the Jets. But if the Browns are bad and Ty Simpson's bad, you're picking at the top of the draft anyway. Yeah. Quarterback can be a selection. This is the second pick that the Jags have, or the Browns have, courtesy of the Jaguars. So a little bit of a way you're playing with house money and you're sniping teams just behind you from either taking or moving back up for the quarterback. I think Ty Simpson's like a second round type of prospect, and those guys just go in the first. Now, I wasn't a big Jackson Dart guy. I wasn't a big Tyler Shuck guy. They both go top 40 with Dart sneaking into the first. Teams are so desperate for QB, and I think the fall off after Ty Simpson is pretty severe. I hate to use this, but it is a bullet point. Ty Simpson looked really good throwing the ball at the combine, and that matters to these teams for some reason.
It does.
I don't know why it really does, because they're throwing without pads on to receivers they haven't thrown to before, just like totally not football, even though it is. Wow. The one thing I will say about it is good to see general accuracy, because that's something that typically doesn't change a whole lot from college to pro. And Simpson, I think, is generally pretty accurate. He was playing hurt in the second half of the year. He looked really bad. I wouldn't discount that. But healthy Ty Simpson for the first half of the season, minus maybe the first game, that is a first-round type of QB where he might not ever be a top 10 guy. This is not my type of QB. He's so strained to drive the football, and I like guys who have a little bit more easy velo, and he just doesn't really have that. He's putting everything behind each throw. But I think there's a chance he ends up going maybe even higher than this, but this feels like a reasonable spot. And in a world where the top tackles were all off the board, we went receiver at 6. Maybe you go quarterback at 24. I don't know. I don't feel good about this, but I think it is an option. Yeah. And I think Simpson's going to end up being a first-round guy. And if we're not doing trades, who's Simpson going to here at the back of the first round? This is the team.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, and I think, it really is that way. I think we saw it, and they won't probably admit, maybe they will admit it now that they're not there anymore. But I think, Atlanta, they get Cousins, and they go to the Penix Pro Day, and they love what they see in person. They love what they see in person. And they go, yep, no, we're doing that.
Penix as a prospect.
And we're doing that. And so I think to your point, someone absolutely who was there at the combine could go, yeah, I just really like the way he throws this. And it could just be that simple. Chicago. Gave myself Chicago. Forgot that was that I did that.
You've got some options here. This is not the end of the
Yeah.
world.
Oh no, no. I just don't like
You
giving
hate
the
the
Bears
Bears?
good players. Yeah, yeah. I just don't like giving the Bears good players. I think
That makes
Mesidor
sense.
could be in play for them if they think they're in the window. I think Dennis Allen's going to want the bigger guys on the edge if history is to be believed in that regard. And also here, I think as much as I want to give them McDonald, I keep hearing people say no, they kind of want more attacking guys that are a little bit that don't have quite that build. And so that kind of leads me to Peter Woods, which would completely eliminate my claim that McDonald and Banks would be the first two off the board. But it's
Sometimes
fine.
it's how it works.
Sometimes it is. I think based on the types that they can get, because there are bigger edge rushers like Parker, like Young, they could like Lawrence, Akis, Dennis Sutton, like there are bigger edge rushers. They might feel comfortable with that, and they might recognize I think just the shallow outlook of this D tackle class. Not saying that they're good role players, but if they want difference making types, they're probably going to have to do this earlier than later, right? We kind of talked about it. Those top D tackles, I don't think we imagine they're getting to 57 or 60 for them. Like I don't think they're going to have that opportunity. So we're going to go Peter Woods here. I think someone's going to do it in this kind of, I think, late 20s, early 30s range. We're going to make it Chicago.
Yeah, I definitely like that. And you've left me an interesting decision here at 26. It's between help Josh Allen and try to get immediate pass rush help. So it's like Boston or Mesidor. I guess Concepcion may be in the mix as well. I like what he would add to the offense as a field stretcher. I like that Denzel Boston you'd think would catch the ball. He looked so bad at the combine. And that he doesn't really drop the ball on film, even though I don't love him as a player because he didn't really separate like that. But the hands I didn't really think were going to be a big question mark. And then he was dropping everything. And that might only be like, 2 or 3. But that's a decent number of drops playing without pads on at the combine against no coverage.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Mesidor here.
Okay.
They bring in Bradley Chubb. I don't really care. I think they need to improve this pass rush in a huge way.
Yeah.
And, obviously you can say, hey, go get Josh Allen some help. Wide receiver, such a need. I totally agree. I totally do. But would I rather Denzel Boston at 26 or like almost anybody else with their next pick? So this receiver class is deep. In terms of outside guys, you might be a little bit hard pressed to find one. But I'd rather Malachi Fields, 30 picks down the board, or Dejon Stribling at some point. I think it'd be a good outside player for them. They have the slot, obviously.
Yes.
I think Brazel even could be a good fit in this offense.
Yeah.
I don't know that I need to take a receiver here at 26.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, I mean, I get it that I don't think DJ Moore's necessarily like the answer for them. I think that he'll do some good high leverage stuff, but I don't think he's like complete anymore. But yeah, I like Mesidor. I think they got a heck of a group of options, even if Mesidor isn't there. With some
Parker,
types
potentially.
Yeah,
I mean, R. Mason Thomas, it sounds like people think he's going to end up going round 1. I've struggled to get him in the first, but people think that. That's what I've been hearing.
This is probably the spot, I think, if so. Okay, San Francisco. I know that they've gone after Evans. That's nice. I think they just signed Kirk, if I'm not mistaken, a few hours ago. So I do think they're another team where they could go after players up front. But then they traded for Odigizua, who, they were desperate, but they kind of, I mean, I understand. I understand being desperate for a guy who could rush the passer. Yeah, Evans, Pearsall, that's okay. I might be doing this again, I think, here, where unless I'm it kind of looks like I'm gonna do this because again, I'm in a similar position with them where I feel like I was with Philly, where I just don't. I want to believe he's got several more years left in him, but I'm just not sure that that's the case. And I feel like the heir apparent is here with Lomu. They've run the ball a ton at Utah. I don't think I'm concerned about how he's going to be schematically in this Shanahan offense. So I'm going to take Lomu. I think the tackles, we're going to have a run at some point here in this kind of late 20s range with kind of these second, maybe third tier, if some people look at it that way with these guys. But yeah, I think the Evans signing maybe pushes me a little bit away from someone like Concepcion, who, man, when he claps the football, it is tough to watch because he just does everything else at a really high level. Like the small guys who elevate for the football. But I think they got to have the plan, just like Philly does. They got to have a plan for when Trent hangs it up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Ooh, man, the Texans is basically my least favorite pick in every mock draft I get to. And I don't know that their free agency made anything more clear for me. They bring in Evan Brown, you'd figure, as a depth piece on the O-line. They bring in Braden Smith. They have Trent Brown. They have Ariante Ursary. I still think the team needs to improve their offensive line, but I don't know where you're doing that with this pick. I mean, it's you're unlikely to take a tackle, I think, given who you have currently.
Yeah.
And I mean, are you taking a guard here? This is not my favorite spot at all. It's just they were able to bring back Ed Ingram. I think that was a nice re-signing. Left guard still a need. Jared Patterson. People have pointed to interior defensive line. They brought back a lot of guys. Sheldon Rankin's bringing Logan Hall. I don't know what you do here. I mean, Reed Blankenship is an interesting ad.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think of him too highly. What is the Braden Smith contract? I might just go Blake Miller here and say, you know what, it's probably not a bad idea to have, multiple tackles of the future. 2 years, 20.
Yeah.
So you'd assume an out after this year if they wanted one.
Probably. And I know that seems like they don't like Fisher after one season.
Which is weird because I heard that he was going to be like pretty big in their plans.
Yeah.
And then it seems like he never really developed in that way. No. This is such a tough spot. And I'd like to improve their receiving room as well, but they've invested so highly in that position recently where are they just going to give a chance to see what Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll look like? I don't know what to expect from Tank Dell at all. I mean, at all.
No idea.
Man, I'm buying time here, but I'm getting no closer to an answer.
I mean, that's something I've rolled out there is I know they signed Blankenship, but like, and I guess they did bring Rankins back, but like, are they going to be like super upset if they take like a McDonald or a Miller here or a McNeil Warren to make them like just outrageous in the secondary or the pass rush?
I always end up with an interior defensive lineman here just because.
Oh, you do? Okay.
There's always one that's available.
Yeah.
But I get that they're not going to be attached to Rankin super long term. It's an interesting spot. I guess I hate to do it again. I'll go Caden McDonald.
Okay.
Just because I think the value lines up about right. You can keep a strength. I want desperately for the Texans to get CJ Stroud some help, whether that be a receiver or pass protection. Because you can point to the downfall of CJ Stroud. He has not had a lot to work with. And it's been a new play caller. So, I don't love the environment for Stroud. Like, I'm like, how is he going to be successful with these guys? And it kind of gets to like a Packers type of spot with the receivers where they've got a bunch of guys who I think are fine. And Nico Collins is a stud. But, outside of that, there are guys that I think are okay. But would you take a receiver here? I don't know. It's the Texans. I guess I'd probably look to trade down if I were them, but they've traded a lot of assets away for like mid-round picks.
They have.
I don't know what to do with them.
They could go. I guess they could go get aggressive. I mean, obviously we didn't do that for them. But they could go get aggressive if somebody, if the Chargers don't like what they see at 22. I mean, which they might not after Ioane goes off the board there. Like maybe they don't like what they see and Houston moves up. It is tough for them. Like maybe they go get Decker. I don't know. He's still hanging out there. I know he's got the shoulder injury, or I think that's what it is. That's been an issue for him. Like maybe they go do that. I don't know. But they're.
But even so, they like Ursar's their guy.
They do, and that's what makes it.
So you're assuming it's like right tackle here or nothing. But are you spending a first round pick on a potential Super Bowl team on your third string right tackle this year? That seems crazy.
Right.
But
and especially if Iannichor, do you think like if he's not ready and like you're developing him, like as you said, they're in a window where if they could just get this right, like they have the championship defense.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to see where they go. Because that's a bit, and I think that could end up being a player that nobody expects, like, a corner or a linebacker or a receiver.
True.
I mean, if he lingers on the board for a little while, I think going up to get Kenyon Sadiq could also be interesting. I like Dalton Schultz, but I think Sadiq gives you something else on offense. I'm saying they're struggling for a receiver. That is one in a way, and that's like a 1% possibility of happening probably, right? But it is interesting if you're talking about being aggressive. If a good player just happens to stay available.
Yeah, I mean that's like a perfect thing for them because like I think, gosh, Noel is maybe their best yak receiver.
Yeah, I would say that.
So they don't have like kind of the big, the bigger guy who can create post catch. Yeah, okay. Kansas City. Oh, do Gilman and Hicks prevent me from doing this? Maybe. I mean, the easy way to go is to just take Terrell because he's doing exactly what McDuffie has done. You're probably going to do a bit of both there, although, I mean, could go Colton Hood. Could go true boundary guy. They have options. Yes, I mean, we took Sadiq. That doesn't really solve the boundary receiver problem. And I don't think I can't see them going down this road. We've seen what happens when they've gone down this road. Like Concepcion, good player. They need guys who can secure the ball. No question. I think I'm going to go Terrell. I'm strongly considering Hood or Pons for this team. If Pons was 5'10", no question.
Or even 185.
Yeah, even that. Like, just anything like that. I mean, I'm looking at the room, and it's who are they? I mean, like, who are they? Like, they have Noel Williams. They signed
like him,
Kuho. Like Noel Williams, maybe he's their nickel guy, right? Like he might be just their nickel guy going forward because he was a little bit smaller anyway. And they've got Fulton and Connor. I can't leave that room. I can't leave that room unchanged. I'm gonna switch that up. I'm gonna take Hood. Let's take Hood instead of Terrell. Let's flip it.
The Broncos are interesting. They've signed 0 free agents. They've re-signed some of their guys, but they've signed 0 free agents. They can't run it back. I'm going to go receiver. I think let's go with I was going to go with the size theme and go Boston and Sutton. I think it's kind of fun, but I think the value that Concepcion brings as a field stretcher is something the Broncos really don't have. I get Troy Franklin. I don't like Troy Franklin, so I don't count that. Concepcion, I agree. The way he catches the ball is so poor, and that has led to so many drops. Hopefully you can get that coached out of him because everything else is so good. And you take a smaller receiver here that can win outside and beat press. That's kind of rare to find. I think he's going to end up as a top 40 player. I think he's going to be somewhere after 20 and before 41.
Yeah.
So this is right in that range. I'll go KC Concepcion.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good spot. Oh, man, New England on the clock at 31. I've done this a couple times. I think I'm going to do this, and I'm going to buy into it because after watching him a second time, it's kind of blown away by what he can do. And they brought back Moses. They still got Moses, so this O-line's fine. I don't think I'm going to go Miller or Iheanacho here. I am going to take, I'm going to take Malachi Lawrence.
Ooh.
I'm going to take Malachi Lawrence here. I think Parker could end up being the guy potentially for them, but I'm going to go down the board a little bit for a guy who I think plays the finesse game pretty well at the size, because he's like in the upper 250s, around 260. Really like that. I really like how he plays and the attitude that he plays with. It's not always the cleanest defending the run, but the want and the desire to play it is there. That feels like somebody that Vrabel will buy into. And the edge room it's a little thin. Like they got good play out of Chason and guys like that last year. I know they've still got Landry. They kind of brought in Draymond Jones, right? Swinson, Ponder, like they kind of need something, a little something else.
Yeah, edge is heavily in consideration here for Seattle, but I still like their room enough. I've heard these random DeMarcus Lawrence is retiring rumors, but I don't know how much stock to put into those. I'll tell you who I like here a lot is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. You add in the range, the playmaking ability. That's a fun fit into this defense.
Yes.
And, I mean, you're looking to bring this Legion of Boom back. McNeil-Warren is an enforcer, but he's also got good range and ball skills. And I as much as I'm a Ty Okada guy, I'm a Ty Okada guy as a rotational guy.
Yeah.
I like EMW as a starter. You lose Kobe Bryant. You were able to keep Josh Jobe at corner. I don't care about losing Reek Woolen. You have Devin Witherspoon. You have Nicky Manwari. I think corner is actually okay. If you don't feel great about it, find me one in the second, right? Yeah. Avion Terrell, I think, would be very good for this team as well, or even more of a true boundary, even though I think Terrell is. But I think some teams might view him as a nickel. I think he's got enough size, and if you look at the tape, I mean, he can play on the outside. At least I think so. But Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, I think, is definitely the best safety available, and I like the safety class, but it's a little bit of a fall off. If Thieneman's going to go at like 19 or wherever, I think this is about the range. He's been getting like top 15 hype. I don't know if I see that, and I've been in on Emmanuel McNeil-Warren since basically September, but he's one of those situations of I like him a lot. In the second round, I don't like him at 10. Or 11.
Sure.
I've seen him up near that high, but at 32, I'm in.
No one would ever get hyperbolic about a prospect and put them that high. Never.
No, never.
Never. No, I do like that. I think that makes the champs, again, just that much more dangerous. Smitty, I know you were in the comments here about Pittsburgh. We got him Ioane at 21. But really interesting where we get 4 receivers. I know I played a massive part in that by taking Omar Cooper Jr. at 13. But 4 receivers, top 16, I mean, it's premium position. You want to be budgeted in those spots. Anybody you feel like, didn't include that, you feel like probably will be included in this when April rolls around? I know we don't have the list in front, so it's kind of tricky, but
I think Terrell's too good of a player
probably
to get out of the first, but I struggle with where to put him because he's a smaller corner, and not all these teams down the board seem like corner teams. So that would be the standout to me, I would say. Yeah, okay. I think that's the guy.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think, again, I know you mentioned him, R. Mason Thomas. It sounds like there's a lot of that going around of him crashing the first-round party.
maybe one of these tackles.
Tackles would be a good one.
Like Miller and Iheanacho, or Miller is the, I guess, higher floor guy. Iheanacho is the big swing, but they're both right tackles.
Yes.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like, I'm bringing it up like that takes away. But if you look historically, left tackle and right tackle are drafted similarly highly in like the last 10 or 15 years. So it just kind of, if you're a good starting tackle, you end up going pretty high. Just which teams are tackle teams down the board, I think. The Browns, obviously, the Eagles, the Niners, Texans could be, Chiefs could be, Patriots could be. So, I mean, there are some spots for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You want to roll through the second round teams quick?
Yep.
We got time?
For the ones without a pick?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's do that. I've already got it queued up. We got the 4 on the clock. So it should go to Indy first. Yep. Okay. Do you want to take...
We can make it a collaborative effort.
All right, yeah. That sounds good. Okay. Let's see what Indy's got here. We know they like the
Ty
big
Simpson's
guys.
tempting.
That's interesting.
That actually would be interesting, but of course Daniel Jones has these teams in a chokehold every single time his contract's up.
I don't know what that's about.
I might consider R. Mason Thomas here.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good because Yakis gone. Yeah, Lawrence. I mean,
they bring in Arden Key and Michael Clemens. I don't really care about that.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I mean, linebacker's a huge need, actually.
That's true.
There's a player in here I actually don't know. I know Jalen Carlisle, but who is Austin Ajiake, UNLV linebacker? I don't know who this is.
No, I don't either. That's
had 32 tackles this last year. Maybe I just don't know ball.
I guess
maybe Galday
must have been in the back half of the season when the season was done. Must have
checked out. I mean, Galday's height, weight, speed.
He is.
Speed and coverage. I used to take your pick here.
Yeah, he's really big. Yeah. Trotter, maybe. He's big-ish. I don't know if he's quite 240. Yeah, Golday's the really. I mean, I think in theory projection with him, like obviously he's not going to play where he played in Cincinnati. Like obviously they're not going to have him. That's kind of the JOK type of stuff where you're 240, you need to be playing linebacker.
He moves so well though.
He does.
Like, that's the thing is he looks like he's 220. Like watching him kind of reminded me a bit of Carson Schwarzenegger. And I saw that comp get thrown around. I'm like, I definitely see that, even though he's like 20 pounds heavier or was. I know Schwarzenegger showed up like 20 pounds heavier than expected at the combine weigh. And I don't remember him working out though. But saw Jake at least.
Yeah, I think I like it. I think he can play physical enough too. I don't think he's.
What do you think about Zaire Franklin being a Packer?
I think if they've got enough, which again, their defensive tackle still very much a work in progress for them, even after Hargrave coming to.
I like that ad though.
I do. Yes,
it's low risk, and you know what you're getting.
Yes, they just need the orange, the Corleone, maybe even McClellan, someone. Regis, maybe someone like that. Of let's eat some space, right?
I mean, you got a lot of guys in the class like that.
Yeah, they're not going to be tripping over themselves, most likely.
Oh, you know who I like a lot that nobody ever seems to talk about is Darrell Jackson from FSU.
Yeah, everybody kind of seemed to pack it away, which I think the big thing is everybody's kind of like he's tall, and they're all concerned about him being tall, right? And then you lose the leverage game, but I don't think you play him at nose. If you're that concerned, you don't play him there necessarily.
How tall is Chris Jones?
Because Deion Walker had that same thing of like, oh, is he tall enough? And Bills kind of played him more as a 3-tech, and he disrupted.
Yeah, he was really good this year. Chris Jones, 6'6". Not that he's playing much nose, but you don't necessarily need a nose to obviously. I guess you were talking about like, big space heaters, but I mean,
it just depends on what Gannon's going to do. That's the thing. That's the other tricky part about this whole thing is like try to figure out who he wants. Like obviously he wants guys he's he's coached clearly because they've got 2 of them on the roster. But yeah, he's fascinating because he plays extremely physical too, and he as you mentioned, the violent punch. There's some big time ones there from him. But yeah, I think we go Golda here. Yeah, I think that's kind of set in stone. I think, as you mentioned, R. Mason Thomas and other guys like that, I think are very much in play. But
I'd consider it 48 post James Pierce.
Yeah. All right, let's do Golda. Yeah, that's true. No question.
The Falcons in free agency brought in a couple of receivers, but no one that I think they're really expecting to play. And then good depth. I'll tell you, I like bringing in Ebicom and Azeez Ojulari. So maybe edges not. And they got Christian Harris too, and Channing Tindall. They added depth and athleticism on that defense.
And Bulldogs.
I'll tell you what, not a bad idea.
No, definitely
not a bad idea.
Definitely not.
And Harris with Alabama, you get Deshaun Hand. I mean, they got the Alabama Georgia thing going on.
Well, there is an Alabama receiver here.
Yeah,
that a lot of them seem to really like, which I get that for sure. The question is, do we want to add more speed? Kind of.
I mean, you definitely could.
You could.
Losing Darnell Mooney, like that was your speed guy.
Yeah.
I don't think Jahan Dotson and Olamide Zaccheaus are like burners.
No.
So, I mean, you could sell me on, I guess, really any of these speed. Maybe not any of them. Like, I don't think you're taking
no
Zach Branch here or Bryce Lance.
No.
Bryce Lance being, God bless the PFF guys, but Bryce Lance at 62 is a little bit rich for me.
Oh,
and I like him. I like him as a player. Agree. Love him on day 3. Don't like him at 50.
Yeah, we put we're gonna put him on the development track for sure. Just with some of the things that I've seen from him. Like Bell is Brazel, I think could work here, but as you said, I mean, if they're all those depth signings, could go get Junior Mason Thomas. What do you think? Do you like Bell or Brazel more?
Well, I think Brazel's going to be an outside guy, whereas I think Bell's a slot guy.
You think Bell's the big slot?
And you look at the Falcons, are they really looking for a slot? Drake London does that a lot.
He does.
Which is interesting. So,
and Pitts will probably do it when he doesn't.
Yeah, let's go Brazel. Brazel, I think, moves pretty well for his size. I think he gets in and out of his breaks pretty well for his size. It doesn't show up always, but
that is the thing.
The Tennessee offense is so weird. It's like everything's a deep option.
Yeah,
I think he's shown us, and I've been tricked by this before, but he's shown us with his movement ability that he should be able to sink his hips and get down and be a good route runner when he gets more of the tree.
Yeah.
But I say that, and then it doesn't always happen.
I know. This is the thing. Are we getting sucked in again by another Tennessee receiver? Maybe. But you know what? If I'm going to go down Spigot for one of them, I think this is the guys you said. Like the guys who actually sit down and drop the weight.
He's been the best one. He's been the best version of the big, like long, fast Tennessee receiver that we've seen.
Yes.
His catch radius is huge.
Yeah.
And he's shown it. He's not really a body catcher like Jalen Hyatt.
No.
Or even Dante Thornton, I think, had a problem with that a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think it complements London nicely. And you're not sacrificing size. Like your red zone packages are going to be nuts with these guys. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Well, the real fun one. The real fun one is Green Bay and without Chris Johnson here. That's tough. That would have been an automatic.
Yeah, he's one of the great corners I like down the board slightly. I think he's also got a chance to sneak into the first. If we see an earlier run on corners.
Seattle?
Like, let's say
Kansas City.
Let's say Jermod McCoy ends up being a top 12 pick, which doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. Like, let's say the Giants go with Mansour Delane at 5. We might see a run on corners where, we see Terrell as a top 20 pick, and then suddenly Colton Hood's off the board to maybe Dallas at 20 if they don't go with a corner at 12. So you could see, Chris Johnson the back end of the first.
Yes, I think so. Definitely. Oh, this didn't fall super well. Like I understand this. I understand why people are putting Dunker there because he's not going to play tackle, and that's exactly what they do. They take tackles who aren't going to play tackle to fill their interior spots. I mean, Sean Ryan's playing center for them long term at this point, so they definitely do that. I mean, my personal opinion, I know nobody's like itching for this. I would take Lawrence here as well, but we've already done that today. So I'll pivot here to somebody I do think is going to be in play for them, for better or for worse. Let's go Davis and Igbenogson.
Man, he's physical.
Bigger corner, physical player, but maybe a little bit too much sometimes.
Maybe a little. But you know what? That's been an archetype that's worked sometimes. Joey Porter Jr. was a little bit too physical. If you want to look at what it could be if it works.
Yeah.
And he didn't move well laterally either.
No. I have that feeling, that sinking feeling of like they're really gonna like him. Because again, they got those thresholds that they hold to for the most part, unless they really, really like a guy. Okay. Finishing up Jacksonville.
I'll tell you I'm not a huge fan of as a player that I think will end up going fairly high and who's at the top of the board right now, according to PFF, is Eli Stowers.
It's that same receiver tight end test type of thing.
Yes, exactly. I think Stowers is the worst version of it for sure. Yeah. But if you think you can get, Evan Ingram out of him, which you can't, but that's the mold where if everything goes right.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram was highly productive in Jacksonville. Obviously the offense has changed now.
Yes.
But could they consider that with the athletic upside? Maybe. I don't think he's going to end up as my tight end too. I'll tell you that. But
same.
I also like my tight ends to be able to block a little bit.
Unless that's the position. That's the position. Yeah, unless they're Brock Bowers. I think it's.
But we have so many of these guys that it's like, he's going to be so special. He's a joker tight end. Yeah, he's not the best blocker in the world, but he's so good as a receiver. And then they're actually not so good as a receiver because being an NFL receiver is really hard. None of these guys run routes like receivers do. So you probably just don't want them on the field playing one of the receiver positions. So, and then they end up not being very good. We've seen this archetype, especially recently, fail over and over and over and over again. So Stowers scares me. I see a world where he's okay, but I like the build of Sam Roosh a lot more.
For sure.
If I want the big receiver, I like the upside of Michael Trigg a lot more, even though he's got some off the field stuff.
Yep.
Not that I would take a tight end here necessarily.
No, right. But it was a good discussion. Like Claire, I think has the frame to build into to be an inline player, but we got a couple seasons I think before we get there. Like he feels like Theo Johnson was always bigger, I feel like, than him, but like it's more of that I think scenario where I feel like I'm big on Theo this year. Whereas I think Claire will take some time. But as far as like Jacksonville goes, I mean they actually do need linebacker too, probably.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'm looking at their team. They've signed one free agent. Do you know who it is?
They've signed one free agent.
Chris Rodriguez.
I don't think that's right because they lost. Yeah, they lost Achan.
Achan. Would like to get used to that.
Yeah, there's now two of them. Perfect.
So insane.
But it's Bashal Tootin season, so
it is Bashal Tootin.
We're good with that.
I don't know. I think you can go a lot of different ways here. I'm looking at the depth chart. Linebacker, certainly a need after losing Devin Lloyd. Yep. I think a rotational edge could be in play. At left tackle, it's Cole Van Lanen listed as a starter. Walker Little just behind him, if you prefer. Yikes. So I almost think tackle could be in play. But, I mean, Walker Little was basically a waste of a second-round pick unless he ends up being the starter. And it's like, who are you taking here? Markel Bell because he's big?
Right.
Not a Jennings Dunker guy, really.
No, and you'd have to teach him, have to flip him, I think, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of right tackles here. But Anton Harrison was a college left tackle.
It's true. That's true.
Yeah, I really don't like the available players. I guess I might lean linebacker.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, and Josiah Trotter's here, and Anthony Hill's here. I
Yeah,
mean, we have
there are
options.
options.
A lot of people love Kyle Lewis, so it just depends
Which I
what
get
type
it.
of linebacker you want here.
Get it.
Lewis is the undersized cover player.
Yeah.
You have Hill is the big enough downhill player, great as a blitzer. Trotter's the downhill run defender, who's super young.
Which, I mean, Campanella's going to be aggressive. We know that. He has kind of put together good structure package, good pressure package. It's kind of more towards, I think, Flores, if I'm not mistaken, which I know Cody at Match Quarters, he wrote a big thing on that about what they're doing defensively, which, again, I think he's just a more aggressive version of what Hafley was doing in 24 with Green Bay. And they put Edgerrin Cooper up at the line and had him drop and blitz and do all of that. So that kind of lends itself to thinking that Hill might be the guy here. If
I'm
they
down.
Stick with that.
Throw the horns up.
Throw them up. Let's do it. Let's go Anthony Hill. I think we're going to see that type of run. Oh my gosh.
Jeremiah love it too.
The
after
simulator's
keeping
gone
Brees
wild.
Hall.
This is not ours, by the way.
David Bailey to the Giants.
Whoa, my gosh.
Beat him in at 8.
Whoa. See, they did the tackle run. PFF.
Very much so.
Oh, that's crazy. Someone was asking about this, and it happened. Thought about Ravens taking Sadiq. I assume because likely was kind of essentially that. But
yeah, that's a fun idea. But also Todd Monken's not there anymore. So maybe the Browns get Sadiq somehow.
Well, after trading down.
Harold Bannon.
After trading down. Yeah, that would be something.
They don't want any actual real tight end.
Nope.
Just guys with the label.
Yep. Very true. Well, I appreciate people popping in. I know you had plenty of work. You had plenty to take credit for that for sure with the retweet. But this was a blast. Glad we got to do this. Yeah, man. Any kind of maybe parting thoughts on the draft in general about just
you got to get this part off the screen. They're gonna think we went crazy.
You're right. This was ours. This is the one. You're right.
Oh no, this one's even worse.
That's what we did.
No, it was fun. I mean, I don't think we did anything too crazy. I think everything here feels within the realm of possibility. We backed ourselves into a corner a couple times with the back and forth, which I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like to do these 2-person mock drafts because a lot of things that end up happening are because I'm blocked off from doing what I typically do.
Right.
And the draft is so unpredictable. And I think, could Ioane end up getting to the Steelers at 21? No question. It never happens for me, but it absolutely could happen. Yeah. So it's fun to see these outcomes. Like I would never really go McCoy at 22, but it just worked out today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there are things that, and I think it's easy when you're on your own to just go, yeah, I really like this player. He fits their bang. And then it's just continue to move on. But it's also fun to also hear like as solo going through a lot of these to hear, your opinions on a guy like Falk or, thinking more about the positional value. And I think we kind of saw that at the top with how kind of like 2.5, we can say edge rushers go early and how that looks. So I did enjoy this a lot for sure. And I appreciate you taking the time because this was a blast. So, anything you want to plug, obviously before you go out of here, that is your prerogative.
Check me out on YouTube. Bengal is it Bengal YT on other platforms if you're so inclined.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody popping in. If you're still here, maybe hit that thumbs up if you can on the way out there. And you know what to see for those who are here regularly. You'll see a lot of draft stuff leading up. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your Mock Draft Monday. And maybe if you got a comment, you wanted someone else, you like someone better, let us know. But thank you guys so much. And enjoy Enjoy the rest of your Monday.